At 11:47 p.m. on August 14, 2021, the Police Dispatch Center in Dayton, Ohio, received a call reporting an armed man threatening neighbors at 247 Willowbrook Drive. The dispatcher logged the information, marked it as urgent, and assigned 4 patrol units to respond. No prior calls from that address had been received that evening. The first responding officer, David Riley, age 29, arrived within 6 minutes. He had been with the department for 4 years. Riley's file showed a consistent record of fieldwork and an expressed ambition to qualify for the Special Weapons and Tactics Unit. Colleagues described him as proactive, sometimes impulsive under pressure. He carried over $22,000 in personal credit card debt and routinely worked overtime shifts. Sergeant Thomas Clark, age 51, followed shortly after. Clark had 20 years of service, and 3 years remained until his pension eligibility. He had served in both traffic enforcement and patrol divisions, with no major disciplinary history. Officers Kevin Whitmore, 27, and Jonathan Perez, 31, also responded, each with less than 5 years of service. Clark assumed command on arrival as the highest-ranking officer. At 11:55 p.m., the officers positioned themselves near the residence. According to their statements, the area was dimly lit, with the front porch illuminated only by a single exterior light. On the porch sat the resident, identified as Damian Castro, age 35. Castro was holding a mobile phone in his right hand, pressed intermittently to his ear. Witnesses later confirmed that he had been speaking on a call during the time of police arrival. He did not attempt to flee or approach the officers. Castro was employed as a mechanic at the city's motor pool. Military records confirmed that he had served in Iraq between 2008 and 2010. After his return, he received treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder at a Veterans Affairs clinic. He lived at the Willowbrook address with his wife, Lisa Castro, though she had moved out weeks prior and initiated divorce proceedings. Court filings revealed her stated reasons: his obsessive focus on perceived injustices and paranoid interpretations of ordinary events. Neighbors described Castro as quiet but increasingly withdrawn since the death of his younger brother, Alex Castro, 19, who was killed in a car accident the previous year. The official record shows that less than 2 minutes after the officer's arrival, communication escalated. According to Riley's statement, he perceived Castro raising an object in his hand and believed it to be a firearm. Riley discharged his service weapon first, firing multiple rounds. Within seconds, all 4 officers fired in succession. The combined total was 41 shots. The audio from body microphones confirmed the duration of gunfire at approximately 17 seconds. Castro fell to the ground and was declared deceased at the scene. The object in his hand was identified as a Samsung mobile phone. Emergency medical technicians arrived at 12:08 a.m. Their report noted multiple entry wounds, including fatal shots to the torso and head. No firearm was recovered on or near Castro. The immediate perimeter search yielded no weapons. Clark reported the incident as officer-involved shooting, suspect down, to dispatch at 12:02 a.m. The residence was secured for investigation. Detectives conducted a standard search of Castro's clothing and personal items. In the right front pocket of his jeans, investigators discovered a small spiral notebook. The pages contained handwritten notations of license plate numbers, dates, and brief comments. At the bottom of one page, written in capital letters, appeared the statement, "Michael Hayes will pay for Alex." The notebook was logged into evidence at 12:41 a.m. The initial report filed by Sergeant Clark described the event as a response to an armed suspect threatening neighbors, ending with lethal force after the suspect failed to comply with commands. However, the physical evidence indicated the only object Castro held was his phone. Witness testimony from 2 nearby residents supported the fact that Castro remained seated on his porch during the entire confrontation and made no attempt to advance toward officers. The incident therefore triggered an automatic internal affairs investigation and was referred to the county prosecutor's office for review. Background checks confirmed Castro had no prior criminal convictions. His military service had been honorable, though medical discharge records cited psychological stress. Employment records from the city motor pool listed him as reliable, with no disciplinary actions. The divorce petition filed by Lisa Castro 2 weeks earlier contained references to repeated arguments regarding unsolved legal matters and growing instability. Riley's own statement included the justification that he feared for the safety of responding officers when he observed what he thought was a firearm. Sergeant Clark's statement emphasized that all officers perceived an immediate threat. However, preliminary ballistics analysis showed that at least 9 bullets struck Castro from behind, suggesting he had turned or was falling when hit. This detail raised early questions about the proportionality and necessity of the response. At the time of the shooting, Castro had been on a phone call. The call logs, later obtained by investigators, would become relevant in reconstructing the sequence of events. For the initial incident report, the existence of the call was only noted, without analysis of its content. That omission would later prompt closer scrutiny of why Castro had been on his porch at that late hour and what subject matter he had been discussing. The discovery of the notebook shifted the focus from a domestic disturbance to a potentially larger issue. The reference to Michael Hayes was not immediately explained by Castro's relatives on the night of the incident. Family members confirmed Alex Castro's death in a traffic accident 1 year prior, but stated they had no knowledge of Damien pursuing any private investigation or maintaining records. Detectives secured the notebook, along with Castro's phone, laptop, and several folders found inside the residence. The homicide investigation was assigned to Detective Nicole Espinoza, age 38, a 12-year veteran of the Dayton Police Department. She specialized in complex cases involving officer-involved shootings and public integrity reviews. Her task was to reconstruct the sequence leading to the death of Damien Castro, identify whether lethal force was justified, and determine the significance of the notebook recovered from his pocket. The first step was to establish context for the reference to Michael Hayes. Espinoza obtained Castro's family history. Records showed that Castro's younger brother, Alex Castro, 19, died on August 3, 2020, in a late-night collision at a marked crosswalk on East 3rd Street. Witnesses reported that a pickup truck ran a red light and struck Alex as he crossed. The driver fled the scene. The official investigation lasted 6 weeks before being closed due to lack of sufficient evidence identifying the suspect vehicle. Espinoza reviewed the original case file. Among the early leads was a black Ford F-150, registered to Michael Hayes, 42, a local building contractor. At the time, Hayes's brother, Captain Richard Hayes, was serving in the Dayton Police Department's command staff. The file indicated inconsistencies in witness statements, and vehicle damage noted on Hayes's truck was dismissed as unrelated wear. No charges were filed. Family interviews confirmed that Damien Castro never accepted the closure of the case. He had argued with investigators, contacted city officials, and pressured his wife, Lisa Castro, a practicing civil rights attorney, to pursue legal remedies. She declined, citing insufficient evidence. According to her later testimony, this became a source of persistent conflict in their marriage. Espinoza retrieved electronic data from Castro's seized devices. His laptop contained spreadsheets listing license plate numbers, dates, and notes about construction projects involving Hayes's company. Phone records confirmed over a dozen calls placed by Castro in the months before his death to city officials, including Deputy Mayor Jonathan Greenberg. The content of one conversation was recovered from a voicemail transcript. Castro demanded that Greenberg end every deal with Hayes and make him face prison for killing Alex. He did not request financial compensation. Investigators also uncovered documents showing that Hayes Construction had received multiple city contracts for infrastructure work, with invoices significantly higher than comparable bids. Espinoza consulted procurement records and confirmed that Castro had compiled data suggesting systematic inflation. It appeared he had uncovered evidence of municipal fraud while pursuing justice for his brother. When interviewed, Lisa Castro described her husband's state of mind. She told investigators, "After Alex died, Damien went crazy. He thought everyone was lying to him. He blamed me for not trying hard enough as an attorney. He stopped sleeping. He kept saying Hayes would pay Lisa, stated she moved out in July 2021, and filed for divorce after repeated confrontations." She reported no knowledge of the notebook, but acknowledged that her husband often wrote down vehicle numbers when he suspected connections to Hayes. Espinoza ordered forensic analysis of the body camera recordings and ballistic reports from the shooting. Preliminary results revealed that several bullets entered Castro's back. The trajectory suggested that at the time he was struck, he was either turning away or had already fallen. This finding conflicted with the officer's claim that he was advancing toward them while posing an immediate threat. Espinoza logged the discrepancy for further review. Additional review of call logs on the night of August 14th showed that Castro was on the phone with Deputy Mayor Greenberg moments before the shooting. The call lasted 3 minutes and ended seconds before officers arrived. Greenberg confirmed receiving a call in which Castro shouted accusations and threatened to expose municipal corruption. Greenberg denied any personal involvement with Hayes, but admitted that the contractor was a frequent city vendor. The investigation returned to the 2020 hit-and-run file. In the archived box of legal materials, Espinoza found documents naming the victim's attorney of record. The file listed Lisa Castro. The discovery established that before marrying Damien, Lisa had represented him during his attempt to seek justice for Alex's death. The case had been dismissed without progress, and 6 months later, Lisa and Damien were married. Detective Nicole Espinoza's review of the 2020 case file established that Lisa Castro had served as attorney of record for Damien during his pursuit of legal action after his brother's death. The record showed minimal motions filed and an eventual withdrawal without substantial argument. Espinoza requested financial disclosures from the period to examine whether external influences had affected the case. Bank statements obtained through subpoena showed a deposit of $24,000 into Lisa Castro's account in October 2020. The source was an intermediary law firm contracted by the insurance carrier representing Michael Hayes. Officially, the entry was marked as consulting settlement. No corresponding settlement was filed in court, and Damien Castro's records showed no awareness of the payment. Espinoza noted the timing: 2 weeks after the case was closed, and 6 months before Damien and Lisa married. When confronted in an interview, Lisa initially described the funds as advance fees from unrelated work. When pressed, she admitted to receiving money in exchange for limiting her legal challenge in the Hayes matter. She claimed the payment was intended to avoid prolonged litigation. Lisa explained that she and Damien were planning to purchase a home and needed funds for the down payment. She insisted Damien never knew of the transaction. Her demeanor during questioning was described by investigators as panicked and evasive. Espinoza established that Damien's escalating suspicions in 2021 may have threatened to expose Lisa's involvement. The divorce petition filed weeks before his death coincided with his deepening focus on Hayes and municipal contracts. Investigators concluded Lisa's actions were motivated by fear that her prior compromise would be discovered. Parallel to this line of inquiry, Espinoza obtained a voluntary statement from Sergeant Thomas Clark. After repeated interviews, Clark admitted to a concealed connection to the 2020 hit-and-run. According to his testimony, his son, Eric Clark, 20 at the time, had been a passenger in Michael Hayes' truck the night Alex Castro was killed. Eric was intoxicated, and Hayes had been drinking as well. Following the collision, Hayes called Clark for assistance. Clark admitted he arranged to have the incident handled as unsubstantiated to protect both Hayes and his son. The intervention marked the first time Clark accepted a bribe, beginning a pattern of influence Hayes later exploited. Clark told investigators, "I thought I was protecting my son from prison. Hayes promised it would never come back on us, but from then on, he had me under his thumb." Clark described years of pressure, including demands to overlook irregularities involving Hayes construction. Espinoza recorded the admission and referred it to Internal Affairs. Meanwhile, Espinoza traced phone activity surrounding Damien Castro's final night. Officer David Riley reported responding based on dispatch information that an armed suspect was threatening neighbors. Records from the dispatch center confirmed receipt of the anonymous call at 11:47 p.m. The caller described a male with a gun, yelling outside, threatening to shoot. The call was logged as anonymous, with no identifying data noted at the time. Espinoza requested technical analysis of the incoming number. The results established that the call originated from a mobile phone registered to Lisa Castro. The revelation directly connected Damien's wife to the initiation of the police response that led to his death. During the same period, phone records documented multiple calls between Michael Hayes and his brother, Captain Richard Hayes, in the hours leading up to the incident. In one intercepted voicemail, Michael Hayes said, "This psycho is going to find out everything. Stop him at any cost." The message was preserved as evidence. Detective Nicole Espinoza scheduled a formal interrogation with Lisa Castro, after confirming the 911 call originated from her phone. The session was recorded on video and conducted in the presence of counsel. At first, Lisa repeated earlier claims that she had no knowledge of the call. When confronted with cell tower data and the exact time of transmission, she broke down and admitted responsibility. Lisa stated that on the night of August 14, 2021, Damien had been on the porch yelling into his phone at Deputy Mayor Jonathan Greenberg. According to her account, she overheard him shouting, "I know about everyone, including my wife." Lisa interpreted this as confirmation that Damien had uncovered her involvement in the earlier settlement with Hayes' insurance carrier. She said she panicked, convinced he would expose her and destroy her professional reputation. In that state of fear, she called emergency services and fabricated a story that Damien was armed and threatening violence. Lisa explained, "I wasn't thinking clearly. I just wanted him stopped before he said more. I thought the police would calm him down. I never imagined they would open fire." Investigators noted her statement as inconsistent with the language of the call, which explicitly described a man threatening to shoot. Espinoza also re-interviewed Officer David Riley. Under questioning, Riley repeated that he fired first because he believed he saw a firearm. He said, "I thought I was saving innocent people from an armed psycho." "I didn't know it was just a phone." Riley acknowledged the speed of his decision and admitted that he had been highly motivated to demonstrate initiative, hoping to strengthen his candidacy for the SWAT team. Sergeant Clark faced renewed questioning after Espinoza obtained his partial confession regarding Hayes. In the extended session, Clark admitted that his son Eric had been present in the vehicle with Hayes on the night of the 2020 hit and run. He added that Eric fled the scene immediately after the collision. Clark described how Hayes approached him afterward with an offer to cover up the incident in exchange for silence. Clark conceded, "I did it to save my son. But once I did, Hayes owned me." Investigators documented that Clark had intervened to suppress evidence, accepted financial favors, and provided Hayes with protection in subsequent years. Espinoza reconstructed the events of August 14 based on call logs, witness statements, and confessions. The sequence showed that Damien Castro had phoned Greenberg with an ultimatum. His demand was not financial but punitive. Hayes must lose all municipal contracts and face prosecution. Damien raised his voice during the call, referencing corruption and naming those he believed were complicit. Lisa overheard, realized he had discovered her role, and made the false 911 report. Officers responded expecting an armed suspect. Riley fired first in the belief that Damien's phone was a gun. The remaining officers followed his lead. The ballistic evidence confirmed that Damien was shot from multiple angles, including the back, contradicting claims of direct confrontation. The case proceeded to court in 2022. Lisa Castro was convicted of filing a false report, leading to death and obstruction of justice. She received a 10-year sentence. David Riley was charged with negligent homicide, but negotiated a plea agreement, resulting in 4 years probation and loss of police certification. Sergeant Clark was forced into retirement without pension benefits after admitting to evidence suppression and bribery. Michael Hayes faced prosecution for the 2020 hit and run after Espinoza reopened the file with new witness testimony and Clark's admission. Hayes was convicted of vehicular homicide and sentenced to 12 years in state prison. His construction firm lost all city contracts, and a broader audit exposed irregularities across multiple projects.